Welcome to day 2 of Small Business Week, National Small Business Week. Yesterday we had a great kickoff to the event.
There we go.
I'm being pushed around up here by Connor, our moderator. That's how well we get along already. We had about 1,300 people show up yesterday for our food truck kickoff. Was anyone there from our crowd? Yes. It was an amazing turnout to represent a growing industry in the Pikes Peak region, and we were excited to kick off Small Business Week every year with that exciting event. Today, we have another amazing panel for you called Rockstar Marketing. Rock stars all the way behind me, even though they hate it when I call them that, but we all know about their businesses for a reason, am I right? So with that said, my name is Ekta Markuli. I'm the Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center, and this is our 6th year holding Small Business Week for the Pikes Peak region with our co-hosts, the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado. So many of you know about our services, but we're here to answer questions for you after the panel is over. But before we start with our amazing, exciting panel that is sitting behind us, we'd like to show you a quick video from a message from our corporate sponsors, and Dustin will be playing that here in just a moment.
Hello everybody, welcome to Small Business Week 2018.
Hi, I'm Ekta Markuli, Executive Director of the Pikes Peak Small Business Development Center.
And I'm Jonathan Lieber, CEO and Executive Director of the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado.
The SBDC and the BBB are proud to partner for the 6th year in a row on Small Business Week Pikes Peak region, the largest celebration in the state of Colorado.
We're here this week to bring you some phenomenal classes by some great entrepreneurs, and we're here to benefit your small business to also make our economy better as well.
We're so excited that you're here to join us for Small Business Week.
Hi, I'm Tom Naughton, Regional President for U.S. Bank in Southern Colorado. We're pleased once again to be the presenting sponsors for Small Business Week in the Pikes Peak region. You know, when we look at the great contributions made by the SBDC office here in the Pikes Peak region and the Better Business Bureau of Southern Colorado and this Small Business Week activity, which aligns with the National Small Business Week, as a bank, it just made sense for us to be involved. We hope you enjoy the week.
Hi, I'm Dirk Draper, President and CEO of the Colorado Springs Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development Corporation. Small business is the backbone of our economy, and so it's a real pleasure for us to sponsor Small Business Week here in the Pikes Peak region. Small businesses, those with fewer than 25 employees, represent almost 2/3 of our members. In fact, almost half our members have fewer than 10 employees. So small businesses are essential to what we do. We hope you have a great week during Small Business Week.
Hi, I'm Holly Cordham, the Executive Director for Kaiser Permanente, Southern Colorado region. At Kaiser Permanente, our mission is to provide high-quality, affordable care to all of the communities that we serve. This year, we are thrilled to be the sponsor again for the Pikes Peak Small Business Week. There are so many exciting things happening this week, from the food trucks to the workshops to the awards ceremony. It's going to be a very exciting week. Kudos to the team that have been putting this all together. Thank you, and we look forward to seeing everybody this week.
So that was a quick message from our sponsors. We cannot hold Small Business Week without them. Thank you, Tom Naughton, for being here, from U.S. Bank, our presenting sponsor, Kaiser Permanente, and the Chamber EDC for being our corporate sponsors. We'd also like to say thank you to our media sponsors, the Colorado Springs Business Journal, Cumulus Radio, Peak FM, and KVOR, and KOAA Channel 5, who's here today recording as well. So thank you to all of our sponsors and all of the sponsors throughout the week. With that said, we're ready to go with our panel. For the next, until 1:30, we'll be running our panel, and Connor will be taking questions as we go, and just, we'll see how it goes, right?
Let's roll.
All right, thanks, Connor. There you go.
Awesome, you guys ready? All right, so I'm Connor McCluskey. I am founder of BombBomb.com. BombBomb makes it easy to create simple video to send through email, text, and social media. Started it in the Springs back in 2006, and we help you get face-to-face at scale. So let's introduce our panel. So you want to start off, Chris?
Sure.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chris. I'm the founder and the head brewer of Pikes Peak Brewing Company, just up the road in Monument. We've been around for almost 7 years now.
Hi, folks. I'm Becky Lineweber with Anglers Covey and the Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance. Anglers Covey's been around since 1982, and the Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance, we just launched a couple years ago, so we're pretty new.
Good afternoon, I'm James Proby. I have a business called the Men's Exchange. We specifically help men get dressed. We do so in a boutique experience at a discount price. Everything in our shop is $40 or less. We're a social enterprise, so for every 9 men that shop with us, we're able to dress 1 man in our community at no cost. And we've been around forever, like 10 months.
Hey there, I'm Jason Lippman-Quinn. I'm the sales and marketing manager at Bristol Brewing Company. Bristol's been around for 24 years. I certainly haven't been able to even drink for 24 years. I've been with them for about 2 years now, just helping to grow the brand.
Good afternoon, I'm Steve Kesmerick. I'm the CEO and founder of Borealis Fat Bikes. We're going to be 5 years old this year in August. And since our start in 2013, we've sold a little over $18 million worth of fat bikes.
That's awesome.
So it's been Colorado Springs has been a great little hobby that's gone kind of crazy, but Colorado Springs has been great to work in.
Nice. So let's kick this thing off. So marketing can be overwhelming, right? For a small business, you're running all the things day to day. And so our first question is, how do you maintain and grow your engagement with your customer base? Who wants to grab that one?
I'll dive in. You guys want to be shy, I'll dive right on in on that. For us, we spend so much of our time in the social media platforms and constantly trying to catch feedback from the individuals that are following us and giving us information. We really want to listen to that and then try to respond to it or be as responsible as we possibly can in that. That means picking up new forms of social media that I personally may not be as comfortable with. But when you're telling a story and you're sharing a journey with those individuals that are also your customers, we want to be as responsive and responsible in that space as we can. So we always want to engage them at the spaces that they say they want to be engaged at.
I'll echo that a little bit too. At Bristol Brewing, we actually have an outside social media agency because there's just so much out there that trying to get a grasp of it all has been difficult. For a company of our size, you might think that we're bigger than we are. We're sneaky small for the amount of beer that we make and our presence around town. So relying on some experts to be able to convey our voice and engage with our beer drinkers no matter where they are, because it seems like there's a new app every 2 weeks for beer, has been a challenge and an opportunity for us.
I'm going to go in a little bit different direction. So when we started the company, we were 100% dealer direct. Dealers would then sell to customers through your normal bike channels. As we all know, more and more things are going online. But when we started out, we didn't have access to any of our customers. We knew our dealers. So what we found over the last 5 years is we started a website. Well, on our website, we asked for registration of our bikes. Then at least we had a contact point. Since that time, and I'll talk about this later, but as things go more and more direct, now I have access, and that was the piece of the puzzle for us over the last 3 years. Now that we've figured that out, things are actually going a lot better because we had zero interaction with our customers, and that's a problem. So make sure you have a contact point through something if you're using some sort of distributor or dealer dynamic.
Yeah, and I think we're actually in the beer world kind of fortunate because people like to talk about beer. And so we really try to engage our customers and interact with them as far as, hashtagging our products on Instagram, talking about our products on Facebook. But then we've also been real successful at trying to engage our employees, right? Because from a social media standpoint, a lot of our employees are way younger than I am, so they're into that social media platform, and they love to talk about what they do, where they do. That's part of their life, and how do we make it fun and rewarding for our employees to talk about our products?
And just briefly, as a specialty retailer, we're fortunate that we see our customers every day, but it's very important that our staff are trained, and one of the things that we've taught them to do is really engage our customers on their experiences of fly fishing. So not just what do you need help with, but have you been out lately? What are you struggling with? That must have been a very profound statement I just said. But having that one-on-one conversation is really key for us to stay on the pulse, as well as social media, but that's a big one for us.
Nice. Okay, moving along. How do you know that you're reaching your customer? How do you guys track that? How do you engage that?
Well, I'll step in this one for just a moment. I think you know that you're reaching them if your numbers are going up. I mean, the bottom line, honestly, is going to tell you something is happening. And we actually, I'll just tell you a quick story. We noticed that we had a plateau at one point. So we moved into a new building in 2005, saw tremendous growth, great location, all of that for a number of years, and then we plateaued. And we said, what's going on? You know, what's happening? So we had to find out from our customer base what was going on, what we weren't offering to them. So we did a little bit of research, which might be another question, but we found out from them that we were missing the boat on a couple of things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the hardest things to do is figure out if you're reaching. I mean, and we've struggled with this since we opened. And the easy thing is put coupons, buy one beer, get one half off, and that's good up to a point. But at some point, you need to just promote general brand awareness, which that's a really hard thing to measure. In fact, I was telling the panel earlier, there was a wise man who once told me, you know, and this wise man is actual Mike Bristol from Bristol Brewing. We were talking about advertising and marketing dollars, and he told me, you're going to waste 50% of your marketing budget, you just don't know which 50%. Because it's once you get above the coupons, buy one, get one free, or that type of thing, it's really hard to measure brand awareness, but it's absolutely critical that you do some of that.
I'll echo that a little bit. Excuse me, we actually just got, when it comes to brand awareness, it's super important to us, but when it comes to tracking, we actually just got approached by a Wi-Fi company to track people logging in and sending them updates to remind them to come back, and it wasn't within the Bristol's vision of the pub and beer in general to feel like you're being tracked and watched all the time. So we actually turned that down because it wasn't who we are, and it's something that the Bristol stand by. I mean, if you even come in, there's no TVs. We don't advertise the Wi-Fi. We want people to have an authentic experience, and that to us is as much a marketing as, you know, getting an alert on your phone that you haven't shown up in 30 days and here's $1 off a pint. So.
For us, when we're talking about tracking clientele, being clearly the youngest kid on the panel here, not chronologically, but as far as our business is concerned, we try to stack things and do one thing at a time and then see what works. So in our social media platform, that means, you know, you start with a website and you see if anybody goes there, and then you move from that point over to a Facebook page and you do that for a few weeks and see if anybody does that, and then you start figuring out if live posts or pictures or what things in there actually work. And then you move to the next social media. You add Instagram, or you add Snapchat, or you add Twitter, and you start to see what results you get from each one of those in individual segments. Now, it's a little anecdotal from us at this base because, you know, maybe it's something that we did on Instagram 2 months ago that caught your eye and brought you in. But as we're beginning to add those things in, we're not getting rid of the stuff that we've done in the past. It's adding more flavors, more layers onto what we're currently doing, and hopefully that gives us an opportunity to broaden our reach. And for a business, again, that's as small as mine, one of the best things that I can have happen is when I walk into this room and someone says to me, "Oh yeah, I know your business. Yeah, I know what you do." That's like the best thing in the universe for me. You got the men's clothing store that's downtown. It's like, yes. That's the biggest spaces at this early phase when you get to find out if you're working and if your business gets to stay open. That's also another bonus.
Well, and I agree with you, James. The other thing I think it's important is as you talk about, is constant evolution as far as your approach to the market, right? Because when we opened 7 years ago, it was all Facebook all the time, and that was it. Now there's Instagram. We played around with Snapchat, so you always got to try a little bit of different things. So you should have a marketing budget and things that work, but don't be afraid to venture outside of what your normal, what's comfortable, because the market is evolving even quicker. I think it speeds up every week.
All right. What type of market research have you conducted for your business? I know this was a good one.
Well, getting back to when we were plateaued, we realized we had to find out what was going on, and the best people to ask were our customers. So we did customer surveys, which probably a number of you have done that before. We only asked a couple of questions. We wanted to know what's keeping them going fly fishing and what's keeping them from going more often. And we got some results from that we really didn't fully understand, so we took a second step and we brought in a couple of focus groups from our top customers. We sat them down and said, what's happening? And one of the things that they shared with us is that the rivers were too crowded. And we scratched our heads at that. Colorado has 9,000 miles of movable fishing water. So we're like, well, why is it too crowded? And they told us because 11 Mile Canyon is too crowded, so one spot. We realized we were the problem. We were sending everybody in our shop, we were telling them to go to 11 Mile. On our website, we were telling them to go to 11 Mile. Our stream reports pointed there, everything. And so what we learned from them was they needed new places to go. So from that, we created 64 places to fish within 2 hours and put that on our website. So we learned from them, and that's been great. People are learning to go to small streams and still water and other opportunities. But we had to first talk to them and find out what was really going on.
What system did you use to get that feedback, or
easy.
do you guys want to know about systems or things, or us to reference those
Survey
things?
Monkey.
Okay,
Survey Monkey is so easy, and they have a free platform and they have different platforms. You pay a little bit more really for the analytics, but it's very easy to use. So we used that. And then, like I said, when we did our focus group, we really wanted to know some of our key customers. We didn't want everybody's opinion. So we looked at our database and their behavior to find out who were some of our top and more engaged customers. We brought them in.
Awesome. We also use an MPS tool called Delighted, if you guys know Net Promoter Score, and we do it both internally for our employees and for our customers, and it's a simple one-word question, which is, would you recommend our company to somebody? And so it's a great way to get feedback and engagement in a really simple form and way.
Our feedback is real simple. For a men's clothing store, all we sell is men's clothing, right? And men's business and dress apparel. Who would you think our largest supporters are? Women. You're absolutely right. 125%. Because women are absolutely sick of men. You guys are as sick of the way that we dress, the way we present ourselves, and I get to have this conversation over and over and over. One of the things I've said on several panels is that women have constantly lowered the bar on what they're looking for from a man, and we find a new way to limbo underneath it rather than jump over it every single day. Finding guys who figure out, oh, what'd you wear on this date? Oh, well, I picked my good hoodie or my other ball cap. It's like, there's no way to tell me you put forth an effort when you put on a hoodie. And there's no way that she thinks you put forth an effort when you put on a hoodie. So let's try and change that space. Hearing back from the women and asking them, how did this go and how is this working for you? And how should we reach out to the men that are in your life? And it's actually talking to the women because they will then talk to the men, and then lo and behold, we start seeing those folks that are coming in for us. Almost everything we've got is truly interpersonal relationships and trying to find those things out and listening. I can't. The biggest piece that I can honestly say about feedback for us is taking my ego out of the way and what I think works, and listening to the experience of the individuals that come inside of our shop and trying to find out what works for someone who doesn't see life through the exact same lens that I do. the more, and I think that's fairly universal, the more that we can, as marketers, take our egos out of the equation and take the things that we know work, we know this is the answer, and listen to the individuals that are actually spending money with us or shopping with us and find out their experiences. I think that's the best spaces we can be in.
Well said.
Oh, thanks. Nice.
All right, moving along. What advice would you give to the audience on how to prepare a budget for marketing?
I'll start.
Below 50%?
50%'s going away.
Being in marketing most of my life, I'm going to say you can spend a tremendous amount of money in marketing. And when I was in the corporate world, the joke with the CEO, and at that time I was the VP of marketing, was he used to yell at me and basically say, "Oh, you darn," use other expletives, but marketing guys, you get to the end of the year, you say you did a great job, I give you a whole new budget to spend, and I have no idea what I got for it. That's the gist. There was more to it than that. But to a certain extent, it's true. So we used to spend $10,000 a month with some of the marketing firms here in town. Now, for a little startup, that's a lot of money.
Right.
And the phone wasn't ringing. We didn't really know what we were getting for it. And I finally said, after 3 years or so, I said, enough. They're like, "Oh, no, you just have to spend a little bit more. We're working on your brand recognition." I'm like, everybody knows who we are. We're good there. So I shut it all down, all of it, and said, what is going to work? And we tried sampling everything, just a little bit here, a little bit there. You're going to touch on something that is going to make that phone ring or get the conversion on your website. And then that's where you start spending your money. But I will tell you, it is a ton of frustrating work. But if you're going to go to a marketing firm that's like, "Oh yeah, we can geo-fence this, and we can make this look pretty, and we can do this to your website," and all that sort of stuff, yeah, they can. It doesn't mean it's going to work. So I always said, you get 1 month. And if my phone doesn't ring in a month, I'm shutting it down. Do not sign the long-term contracts. Do not do it. Do the work yourself if you can. Once you have it working, then hire somebody internally if it makes sense. Otherwise, you can outsource it. But today, it's not that hard. But you got to figure out what works.
So one of the things that I would recommend, it's an easy tool that everybody can use for their website right now, and that's called Google Analytics. Google Analytics is a great tool. It offers so much more information than you'll ever have time to look through. But some of the great stuff that's on there, it's going to tell you where your leads are coming onto your website. And as a specialty retailer, that helped us know where our marketing dollars were making sense. So for us, the Convention and Visitors Bureau was huge for us. We were getting so many leads from them. So that made the next budgeting time when it came up again, and we're like, is it worth it? We had data, and we could say, yes, that was worth it. Another one is one of our key brands, Orvis. That was a great place for us to advertise as well. So we were able to look at what was actually paying off. And I agree with Steve. We don't do the broad marketing at all. In fact, those two places are most of our paid advertising. Location obviously is huge for us. We love where we're located. That helps quite a bit. But the real thing for us has been moving into the community and getting involved there and building relationships. That has helped our brand awareness more than anything.
All right. Let's talk about marketing channels. What marketing channels work best for you? I know we touched on a few, Facebook, Instagram. Where do you guys feel like your best bang for your buck is right now?
I think it's clearly social media. And again, going back to beer, people love to talk about beer. But I think you also got to look at adjacent marketing opportunities, right? Because I guarantee you that you find the craft beer geek who loves craft beer in the Colorado Springs. Yeah, he knows all about my business, and it's not a whole lot of growth we can get from that perspective. But how do we grow our brand recognition from his neighbors or the other people, adjacent markets? And that's We'll touch later on community involvement. That's a key part of it. Outdoor enthusiasts are people that love to hike and bike, and then typically they like craft beer. So how do you engage that market as well? So you got to step outside of your comfort zone, step out of where you always operate, and explore different possibilities through those methods.
I'll build on the beer a little bit. One of our favorite things to do is just put the beer in people's mouths. It's honestly one of the best.
We love it.
It's one of the appreciate it. It's one of the best things you can do if you can stand behind your product and you're confident in it and you know that people will generally like it. We love to do festivals. It's coming up on festival season now. We do 3 or 4 a week for the next 5-6 months, and we go all over the state and we just give people our beers, and we'll sometimes bend the rules and give people a free sample when they're not supposed to, just because we're confident that they will like it, and then they get a chance to talk to us for 30 seconds. And generally we send everyone from Mike, our owner, our GM, all the way down to our pub staff and even some part-time promo people. We hire people who can talk about it intelligently and in a personable way, and we feel that in 30 seconds, if you have a good experience with tasting the beer and talking to someone, you're hooked. And that's a really, really important thing for us.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And although our business is very different than craft brewing, we do the same thing. We give a little away. We call ourselves drug dealers in a positive sense, because we have, in a positive sense.
I did not picture her as a drug dealer.
Little do you know about me. No, we have free fly fishing classes every Saturday, and that allows people to come in, try it for free. Once they have that little bit of taste, then we have a next step for them, which is to get them out on the water, which costs just a little bit more. And then we have a next step after that. So it's a way to get them in the door. They get to try it. They get to experience it. And as they enjoy it more and more, then we have them, right? I mean, then they need a place to get their gear. They need a place to get their advice. They need a place to hang out and share their photos. So that's what we do as well, but not with beer.
No ID checks on your side.
No ID checks.
So for Borealis, things were a little different. When you have a dealer base, and we had 300 and some dealers when we first started, and today maybe we have 50. Even though sales are up, profits are up, and I'll get to that later. But the challenge that we had is when a dealer sells it, they're going to sell it for full MSRP. So how do you sell it into a market at a discount, because you don't have the dealer margin, and convey that message? Who's got a good guess? It's obvious now that I finally figured it out, but yes, sir. Online. How do you do that with adjusting prices? Because it's hard to do. Ah, gotcha. Okay. I'm sorry, any other answers? Thoughts? Yeah, it's tricky. So you can spend a ton of money on recoding so that it's geofencing, but even that's not accurate. And what's wrong with geofencing? Well, if Joe Blow goes to Florida on vacation and you've got a different price in Florida, but he comes back to Denver or Colorado Springs and walks into our dealer and says, hey, it was half off in Florida, what gives? It's really challenging, right? So where do people go to buy bikes other than dealers?
REI, Amazon.
Well, those are dealers, effectively, right? Well, Amazon, yeah, Amazon's interesting, but again, you have a price dynamic that you can't do. So I'm very proud to say our #1 marketing program cost me $3 per city. Craigslist. Craigslist. Think about it. I can advertise in a city where I don't have a dealer at a discounted price and no one's going to see it. Sales have gone through the roof. Never would have thought about that 3 years ago. So I don't know what your answer is, but you guys got to think way out of the box. Marketing changes. And we had to work with Craigslist because they don't want dealers to do that, because Craig is the guy that says, hey, I just want to work in the community. So that took some effort, but $3 per post, and we do 1 per city. So we have 220 posts out there. It cost me $660 a month. Sure beats 10 grand.
Nice. database.
Honored. Yep. I'm interested in your answer to the same question about like marketing channels.
So we touched a lot on branding. So for us, word of mouth is the key. So we give away our product. We give a free trial. So once somebody uses it and then they send out a bomb to somebody, that person says, hey, how the heck did you do that? They go to the bottom of the email or the post or whatever, and then they click on it, and then people talk about it. And so we get people to use our product, and then that continues through that. And then we're on social media and all of those things. But I would say, you know, our biggest channel and where we make our most money, as I think about it, and it's not like social media platform or anything, but it's our database. So we do a lot of educational stuff around, you know, marketing or just talking about our business and what we're doing, and people follow us and people subscribe to our newsletters and just are a part of our community. And basically that database and what people are doing in our products and services and engaging on our different platforms, whether it's social media, we're able then to target those people and engage them at where they're at. And so I would say if you're not using a database or a CRM, you know, something real simple, you know, even Excel spreadsheet, I mean, track who your people are and stay in contact with them constantly, because that is how we've built our business, on those relationships and connecting with those people. Community involvement. You guys were excited about this one. I know you guys are highly connected in the community. Can you guys talk about how that has impacted your guys' business and some stories around cool community involvement you guys have done?
Sure. Well, one of the things that we started realizing was we have a pretty decent market share for fly fishing. It's a pretty small specialty deal. And in order to grow the piece of the pie, we thought it's harder and harder to take a bigger piece of the same sized pie, right? So we thought we need to learn how to grow the pie. How do we make the pie bigger? And we started looking at fly fishing in the larger picture of outdoor recreation. And fly fishing is a segment of outdoor recreation, but if we could get more people going outside and playing outside, well, some of those people are going to learn how to fly fish, and some of those people are going to come to us. So we started taking a bigger approach, and a couple of years ago, that's really what launched us into starting Pikes Peak Outdoor Recreation Alliance. We started looking at other outdoor companies, others in the outdoor community, and thought, well, we need to pull together. Let's make this region known for outdoor recreation, and how might that not benefit all of us? And we started becoming more involved in the community, going to different groups, attending meetings, going to council meetings, board meetings, all kinds of things like that. And the more relationship building we did in the community, the better. And we did it because we cared about the community. So, I mean, you have to do it, you can't be doing it with an ulterior motive. We do care about the community. We're here, we're a small business, we're a family business, but we also knew that those relationships could be helpful both ways. And so we found it to be very beneficial.
We are all about the community. 125% of everything we do is about Colorado Springs and about this community. So I am one of the 7 people that are natives from here.
I am too.
Sweet. There's 2 of us right here.
Right here.
3, 5, 7. I hear 7. I got 9, I got 9 in the back, 9, 10 in the back. For those of us that are in this community, from this community, we absolutely adore this community. Previous job I had allowed me to travel all over the country, and every community I went to, I always found out that this was the place that I wanted to be more than anywhere else. One of the only things that I really, truly did not like about Colorado Springs, about my hometown, is the way that men dress. And I wanted to do something about it, right? So that falls into place. Yeah, I'm serious about this. This is like a passion. So that was one thing. When we set our business up and we designed it as a social enterprise, we designed it to make sure that we are doing something responsible with our money to take care of this community. There, in every city in the United States of America, there is one business that's donated to addressing women. There's at least one form of the Women's Resource Agency or Dress for Success. I sit on the board of directors for the Women's Resource Agency in Colorado Springs here. To find a resource that helps men get dressed at no cost doesn't exist. And there are about 7 or 8 of them across the country, but they are all either faith-based, so you have to attest that you love God the exact same way that the organization loves God. You have to be coming out of recovery of addiction of some sort, or you have to be coming out of prison. And I'd like to think that we'd like to be able to help more men than that dress. I'd like to go a little bit beyond that. So I'd just like to help Bob put on a suit jacket and a tie without him having to say that he loves God the same way I do, that he's not addicted to something, and that, you know, he didn't do a felony stretch. Like, that's absurd to me. So we want to make sure that we're giving back in our community. So everything that we do has got some community piece into it. The easiest space to do that is to think about we first instead of me first. And the more that we think about we instead of me, the easier it is to think about what your involvement in your community looks like. It's easier to figure out where social enterprise has its impact. It's easy to understand that Colorado Springs is leading the country in the social enterprise, social impact spaces, because we have a ton of nonprofits here. Donor fatigue is real. We're trying to figure out how we can monetize businesses, use economic drivers, and make an impact inside of our community. And realistically, for all of you that are thinking about starting your businesses right now, if you do not have something that says about your community involvement, about your economic impact inside your community at a social level, you got to rethink it, because this is the way of the future. What we're doing is moving everything into the next 25, 50, 100 years. You will spend your money based upon organizations that do something that you care about and that have an impact in a place that you care about. If they're not involved in your community, literally, if you're not involved in Colorado Springs, I think twice about giving you a single dime. I would much rather go to a place that I know is invested in my community before I'm going to go to some place where I know it's not.
Yeah, I'm not sure if everyone's familiar with Bristol's Venatucci Pumpkin Ale, the story behind it, and the good answer. So yeah, that's one of our community ales. We donate 100% of the profits back, and the craziest part of that is, everyone knows we're ingrained in the community, so much so that even liquor store owners donate their profits of the beer back to us to give to the farm. Which is, getting an extra dollar out of a liquor store owner can be tough sometimes from time to time. So the fact that they're willingly giving us all of their profits of that beer just really speaks to the story, that we've told the story for years, and that it's just so ingrained in that beer. And when it came out last year, I followed the truck and then watched all the lines that formed at all the stores. So people really care about that beer and know the story behind it, and that comes from just years of being involved in the community.
I think it's also important to realize that community involvement, it's important to financially give back to the community, and we do that through many different avenues. The biggest one every year is called our Local 5 Pale Ale, which goes to help support the Fallen Firefighters Memorial and pays for plane tickets for representatives of the Local 5 to go to funerals throughout the year of fallen firefighters and that type of thing. So there's certainly an economic component that's important, but it's also awareness too. We do a number of different community involvements where they come to us and say, "Hey, man, we'd love a dollar beer, for this night." And I'm like, "Dude, you're going to get like $100, and that's it." But what we can do is just consumer awareness, right? And sometimes that's even more of an impact. And I think this more that everyone in this room can do is, I would give you a little bit of money because, as small business owners, none of us are rolling in spend a huge amount of dough, right? But I can talk about what you're doing, and we can highlight what we're doing together. One of the things we like to do is brew special beers with a nonprofit organization, and then people, will ask about that beer. Well, tell me about this beer. Well, it's for the Cheyenne Mountain Trout Unlimited, and we brew a beer to just bring awareness to what their mission is. So there's a whole plethora of ways to get involved. It's not always just strictly monetary.
Yeah, and I would say when you're thinking about this as your business is growing and you're just starting, make sure it fits with who you are. Your community, be authentic. For us, fly fishing obviously is our deal. So the places that we give back are Pikes Peak Project Healing Waters for the military, Trout Unlimited, Casting for Recovery, all of these amazing things that are right here in our community, but they tie into who we are as an organization. So it makes a lot of sense for us.
Absolutely. Hey, I'm going to real quickly. Hello? All right. Hello? Real quick, everybody has your own passion, and I sit on the board, the Colorado Institute for Social Impact, and we went through this, discussion about, well, how do I tie my business into that? And a lot of people are, we're all tired of the, I think it was James who mentioned the donor fatigue. How many places have round up for fill in the blank? Okay, yeah, we could do stuff like that, but so is it the homeless that speaks to me? Is it trail maintenance? Is it, drug addiction? Is it fill in the blank? Everybody's going to have your own passion, and you as that owner can say, this is my cause. And hopefully that really addresses something here in Colorado Springs, but it could be nationwide or potentially even worldwide. And take advantage of that, because that's your passion. This is your company. You get to make the decisions. Don't force it, because everybody said, do trail maintenance. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of good programs out there. IMBA does stuff. Medicine Wheel does stuff. And for me, it was, how do I get anybody that struggles with balance on our bike? Anybody suffering from Alzheimer's. We have soldiers that have lost legs or suffered PTSD or whatever, all compromised balance. That speaks to me. And that's what we're doing. And there's a lot of cool stories, and we're just now starting to push that message out. But it's my vision that I started. I sat my crew down and I said, guys, this is what we're doing. And surprisingly, they're like, that's awesome. I was waiting for the pushback, but they saw the smile, they saw the passion in me, and then they know what we're doing. So pick one, maybe two, but don't get too spread out. It takes too much of your time, and your time right now is precious.
Steve, I want to jump on something that you just said as well, is trying to make a local impact, right? Because we learned that just a few years ago, because we used to, try to do a financial thing and write a check to, X, Y, and Z national agencies, which are very important and worthwhile. But then we were like, how do we bring it home, and how do we make a direct impact? One of the things we do every year is called a Beer for Boobies, right? And that is we create a beer. The women of Pikes Peak Brewing Company create a beer for breast cancer awareness. And instead of just being a financial aspect, we actually have the mobile mammogram unit come out to our parking lot and give breast exams. And we've actually saved 2 people's lives by doing that. And that's just something that not only do you make an impact, but then it just builds that. You can see and talk to these people and say, you know what, our business made that difference, and that just empowers you so much more to do even more.
Awesome. Jumping back into social media, can you guys talk about the value of social media for you, and how does it support small business?
If you can figure that one out, no. Make $1 million, no. I think it's really the future of where we're going with advertising and marketing dollars. Yeah, I think you got to find what works for your product. And, you know, for each of us, I think our different markets, there'll be different platforms that respond well or better than others for social media. I mean, Snapchat, I have not yet figured out how I can use that. So we're working on Instagram as kind of our Instagram and Facebook. So I think you got to explore and, dabble around, figure out what works best for your market and your brand.
Yeah, it can be a full-time job. I mean, it's, again, I'll go back to what I was saying before. Figure out what works. We have a Twitter account. I don't even know how to log into the darn thing anymore. But it's going to change fast. And so what I'm going to say is if you're spending a lot of time on Facebook or Snapchat or whatever, and it's not immediately turning into orders, rethink it quickly, because you'll spend a lot of time and a lot of money doing that. And as we all know, I mean, Facebook is kind of going through a redefining moment. Are they going to survive? Are they not? They're pretty big, I think, not to survive. But how many of your potential customers are saying, I'm going somewhere else? And how long is it going to take you to figure that out? And so just every now and then test these new platforms. You might just stumble on something.
So for us, one of the things that we're going to dive into that same point is, for me right now, is I'm starting a Facebook Live video. Because Facebook Live is a thing for us, and we get a big response from that. So you guys are all on my Facebook Live right now. So shop local, okay? Small businesses matter, Small Business Week, 2018, big stuff. That's a huge thing for all of us, and that's a big thing for the way that we do things. So the fact that we get to have live testimonies, live events, live interaction is a huge, huge piece for us. So as we're watching the numbers build on this screen in front of me, social media is a huge, huge piece for what we do. And it allows us to be really manageable. And that was one piece we didn't talk about before, right? Managing what we do is particularly important. I've had marketing firms come to us and say, we love the idea of what you're doing, this is amazing, and if we get involved, we're going to grow your business 6 times this month. And that their pitch was the absolute worst thing you could say to me, because I can't manage 6 times the business this month. Sounds wonderful, is a wonderful, great idea, but it's not something that's doable, not from an inventory standpoint, not from a customer experience standpoint, not from managing the growth of our business standpoint. All of those things are bad. By doing this way, it allows us to continue to grow and to see our business grow every single month by grabbing and attracting new followers every single month, by engaging with those people on a very interpersonal and personal level matters. Social media is a space where you get a chance to build clientele literally one person at a time, and you get a chance to see a little information about them as much as they get to see about you. And all the rest of the other feedback that we get from Facebook's analytics, from Google Analytics, from Square, from our shopping app analytics, all that stuff is incredible. But if you're not taking a personal involvement and engaging with individuals on your social media, you're missing an opportunity for you to be able to speak passionately with a great... Nobody is going to talk about this business with the level of passion and love that I have for it. So I got to try to use that emotion into our business and convey that to you.
Something we've all been talking about here is authenticity. We feel at Bristol that being authentic on social media is very important to us, because if someone finds out about us and then looks at our Twitter feed and looks at our Instagram, we want them to get a picture of who we are and know what we're about. We actually encourage them to have typos and goofy phrases that, we're a brewery. We don't take ourselves seriously. We make a product that everyone wants to have fun. So we don't want to have it look like we have some corporate jargon about a new beer release. We want it to be authentic to who we are and words that we all use with one another, so that if someone looks at it, they see what we're about, just a quick click.
Yeah, as again, fly fishing is a fun sport, right? Outdoors, people want to share their images. We use social media, certainly. Instagram is big for sharing pictures and engaging our customers. Facebook also is very big in that way. But one of the things that I would add to the conversation that we're very careful about for us is the kinds of images and things that we put on there, because we want to promote how fun. I mean, in our sport, the grip and grins are awesome, right? The big fish and the big smile, but you don't always get the big fish. And sometimes it's a little fish, and sometimes it's just being out there and it's gorgeous. So we've kind of shifted a little bit. We're trying to have more families out there, more women out there, and more scenery, and just the whole experience, and not just accomplishing the goal of the big fish.
Nice, okay. So, what one takeaway would you like all these great people to take from here?
You start with me.
Yeah, sure. Let's do it, Chris.
I think just you got to explore all the different options. If you don't have something that works today, talk to your customers, talk to your employees, and just figure out and try different things. Dabble until you go fishing, and then when you'll find something that hooks your bait. There you go.
Nice.
Chris.
Not only a brewer.
Yeah, high five on that. Nice job. One of the things that I would say, and I think this is true for any business, but it's certainly true for us, and that is the relationship with your customer. We're in a different time now than when I was growing up, and everything is immediate and quick and online and technical, and people still want those connections. They want that connection with you as a business. That's a differentiator right now. Certainly they can, I'm in retail, so they can certainly buy online, but they don't have that connection. They don't get the eye to eye. They don't get the what was happening last week. They don't get your investment in the community. So those personal relationships and that connection with your customer, do everything to maintain and keep that connection.
I'd agree with that 1,000%, because that is the space that we are completely built in. Being a haberdasher, being someone that helps you get dressed. When I grew up, there were shops everywhere that did this. You can't walk into a clothing store now and find someone to help you that has the slightest bit of knowledge of how something is supposed to fit in your shoulders, across your chest, sleeve length, if it looks good on you, if it's in style or out of style, where you would actually wear this stuff. You don't find those people that have that knowledge base. So conveying that to our customers is incredibly important, and to try to manage that customer experience is incredibly important. The one thing that I would give you to take away is the one thing that I think has very little to do with marketing and more to do with word of mouth, and the more that we can say this to you, the more you can say it to someone else. You've got to shop locally. You have to impact your local economy. 9 out of $10 you spend in your local businesses stay inside your community. 9 out of $10 that you spend at big box stores leave your community. 10 out of $10 you spend directly online leave us as well, okay? So you've got to shop local. You've got to impact. You've got to make sure that you're voting with your dollar to keep your economy strong, okay? And there's no one that cares more about this community, about this economic function than us. So make sure you're helping us to impact our local economies. You have to be involved in small businesses, and you have to do that by voting with your dollars.
I would like to, something that we always try to convey, and I would absolutely reiterate to you guys, is be you. The second that you stop being who you are and just to try to chase a buck, people see that and they know it, and it's so obvious right away, and that's how you ultimately turn people off. So yeah, find out the core of who you are and what your business is, and really lean into that.
So true.
One thing, I don't know where to begin with that. So many startups will spend a lot of money. I guess I'll stay on the financial side of things. It's really easy to spend money, really easy to spend money. Money makes all the problems go away, but it's a limited resource, as we know. You have to go back and almost think like a teenager when you didn't have money. At least I didn't have money as a teenager, and when you couldn't find a car, what'd you do? You rode a bike, or you walked, or you caught the bus. Everybody wants to move into a really cool loft space, right? But those are expensive. So look for the deals, go to the garage sales, the rummage sales, whatever it is to support your business. Figure out how to save the money there, and any money you do spend, make sure it is absolutely mission critical. It will help you through the entire process. And that goes, for your marketing dollars or just the startup itself.
Nice. Okay, so it's about 1 o'clock.
We are now open for questions.
We are now open for questions. Awesome.
Just keep going.
Hey, you guys have had really good questions about the promotion side of marketing, but marketing is way bigger than promotion. The 4 Ps, right? Price, product, place. How does that relate as you go out and promote, and how do you focus on not only the service you offer or the price point that you're selling at? How does that relate to your success in marketing?
For us, it's an additional piece. There's an additional P in there. It's personality. If you really hate me, you're not going to shop with me, right? That's kind of straightforward. So we're trying to. We know we're competitively priced. We know we've got good products. We want to provide that service and the personality that's involved in there. And in that, for us, and especially for our business and at this young stage of our business, your experience in our store is paramount. Like what you experience when you walk in our front door is paramount to us. We want to make sure that everything that you've had is a very unique experience and something that you haven't had anywhere else. And I know you're going to go shop other places. And we're completely good with that. We're going to give you all of your size, your measurements, all your numbers to make sure you take those with you. But at the end of that, when you're out shopping someplace else, you're also going to hear the experience that you had with us. And you're going to go, James showed me how this is supposed to fit. And James talked to me about these color combinations I shouldn't wear. And James told me about, you're going to get those spaces that are in there. We want to make sure that we're able to do those spaces in there. And like Jay said, you got to be true to yourself. You got to be exactly who you are, and you can't sell yourself out in that terms. So I think the other space that's in there is beyond, the price and the product and where you are location. Personality is a big piece in that for us.
Who else?
We've got one more.
You want to jump in on that?
Yeah, sure. For us, price in craft beer, I'm sure Chris can echo this too, is really important. How many times have you gone into a store and seen a craft beer priced at like $5.99, and then the next week you see it's $9.99, and you think, well, I'm not going to buy that at $9.99 because I know I can get it for $5.99. To us, that almost looks like you're devaluing your product just to get, without getting too into the weeds on the liquor business. It's crazy, but sometimes brands will sell in at a really low cost just to get placements and volume, but then once the consumer knows that they can get it at a low price, you've instantly devalued your product. And then on the contrary to that, sometimes you'll go in and see a craft beer, a single bomber priced at $25, and part of you thinks like, it's got to be really good. And then you go and spend $25, and maybe you think to yourself, maybe convince yourself, or it actually is really good. But kind of have that mindset like, man, that's got to be a really good beer, and maybe you really like it, and then you start investing in a little bit more expensive beer. So price is super key in the liquor world.
Connor, can I add to that just real quick? So in one of our experiences with a marketing firm, we geofenced a certain area. We said, all right, well, maybe we're just priced too high. And yeah, we had the whole discussion about devaluing the brand, but I said, what the hell, right? So we took the state of Maine, which we didn't have a dealer in, and we said, let's just lower the price. So this was a great marketing idea. So we dropped the price 5% off MSRP. Obviously, we didn't see anything. And we're watching the Google Analytics and all that fun stuff. And then we dropped to 10, 15, 20. We started seeing a little bit more activity. And that's the other thing about marketing firms. Oh, you got like 400 billion clicks. I'm like, I don't care about clicks. Did they buy anything, right? So at the end of the day, it's all about whether you convert it. So what was interesting, I was like, we were at 20% off. I was like, oh my God. Well, let's try 25%. What do you think happened? Nothing? No, something happened. Everybody stopped buying? No, I mean, the state of Maine wasn't buying anything. I never would have. No. But what he said was social media picked it up. Oh my God, Borealis is going out of business. Yeah, we don't work with that marketing firm anymore. But you know what? It was an interesting. No, and to be fair, I mean, I was along for the ride. At the end of the day, it was my decision. And but you got to be really careful. Social media can pick that stuff up and go the wrong direction. It wasn't, oh my God, you're getting a Borealis at 25% off. It was something must be wrong that you've priced it that low. Interesting, right? So we stopped that immediately. You got to try it. Won't go back there, but something to think about.
More questions? Right here.
My question is, and maybe it might stretch you guys a little bit, but you all sell products. You know, you've got bikes and beer and clothes and fly fishing apparatus. My question is do you see a differentiation between selling products and selling services?
Well, actually, we sell both at Anglers Covey. We have classes, and we also have guided fly fishing tours. So we do both, and all the things that we shared are important to both. The customer relationship is key, the price point, the connection, all of that. So in both sides of the business, all of those things apply. I'm not sure if that answered it, but we see both.
We sell confidence. I mean, that's our product is confidence. We sell confidence. We help men get dressed better. We help them show up better for their significant others, for their wives, for their children, for their partners. We sell confidence when they walk into a job interview. We sell confidence when they go out on dates. We sell confidence when they're standing in front of a funeral at a memorial for someone that they love and they've lost their lives and they have to speak in that space. It is rarely in our universe about the $40 suit. It is always about the way that the individual that's inside that suit feels and the way that they present themselves to the universe.
Yeah, I would offer that all of us in the room, we all sell the same thing, and that's customer experience, right? Whether you deliver that through a product or through a service, it's the exact same. You know, we have a great tasting room business, and it's less too about the specific beer that someone drank there, but more the social interaction. Our motto is life is better when lived together, which kind of sounds weird coming from a beer company, but you know, everything we do tries to surround around that motto. So it's really customer experience that you're selling.
Yeah, even we sell online, or I mean, we're not really retail. Our doors are locked, so we don't really even want people coming into our shop. So that's due to our location. That's a whole different story. Catch me offline. But when somebody calls, they're going to spend $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 on a bike that they haven't lifted, they haven't ridden, maybe they've never seen. And so I'm going to echo, it's the experience. So one of the most successful tools that I've always told all my sales rep is do the job for whoever you're talking with. We're all too busy, right? And you constantly go back to that supplier, vendor, whoever is in the equation, to the person, individual, company that does it for you. So if I'm talking with a customer, it's like, you know what? Oh, you don't want to put it together because there's a little bit of assembly? You know what? I will call the local bike shop. Do you have a local bike shop that's near you that you like to work with? I'll call them. You know what? I'll even pay for them to set it up for you because it's only a 10-minute job, but I appreciate you're not mechanically inclined. What size t-shirt do you wear? I'll throw one in for you. Those little things. And then in the service industry, not being a true service provider, it's got to be about those ratings. It has to be about those ratings. I know I look at those. So, and that's a whole bunch of different platforms, obviously Google reviews, Facebook reviews. And I've changed my opinion on this over the last year. I now respond to the negative ones. I used to just skip it. But I think it is important. There's always two sides to the story.
Hi, my question's kind of twofold. Do you guys typically do your marketing in-house with an employee, or do you hire companies to do that? And for any of you that have had an experience with both, is there one that you would recommend?
As I mentioned before, we use a social media agency. They handle most of our digital marketing. Our marketing team is me and Amanda Bristol, so it's a tiny little group. So having that social media piece is like having an extra employee, which is super important for us because that is our voice out. In a previous role, we did all of our marketing in-house, and it was a very different world. But being able to control that message is really important because we learned about what our voice was before. I'll say I worked for the Boston Bruins, the hockey team. So before we won the Stanley Cup, no one knew who we were, and then afterwards, everyone knew who we were. So we got to experiment with our voice and social media and all that stuff early on before we had an audience, and then we were ready to go once we actually got literally millions and millions of followers overnight. So being able to have that experience of crafting your own message and really understanding what it is and how you want to project yourself out was very important to us.
We've done our marketing ourselves. We did dabble for a short while. We hired somebody outside to do some of the social media pieces for us. And for our business, and it's specific to our business, it's so specialty that if somebody doesn't know a brown trout from a rainbow trout and they're posting on your social media, ooh, that can really look bad. And it did. So we found that we really needed to have people who had the expertise doing it. We were fortunate. We actually found somebody who could spell and who understood grammar to help some of our guides and people who just want to be out on the water. So he would do the interviewing. He'd write the blog posts for them and post them. So we do it all internally. But you just look at the resources that you have on your staff, with your friends, with your engaged customers, and see if you're small, that's where you start. And we're not so small anymore, but we've stayed there because as was just mentioned, they know us. They're part of us. They know our message and our brand, and they know how to communicate that, where sometimes an outside company doesn't. Some great companies do, but I think that can be a challenge, and you just need to really safeguard that.
Yeah, we're all in-house. I don't know if that's the best answer, but that's what we've decided, at least for now. And because we found people that are passionate about our brand, our employees, and their main focus might be serving beer or something, but they might love the social media aspect, so we engage them through that way. It's kind of an easier way or less expensive way than hiring outside help, but yeah, we've kind of kept it in-house.
I think the only thing that I would add is there are things that you're going to do really, really well. You know your products better. That we were talking about that earlier. Keep that in-house. But there are things that you're just not good at. And for me, sometimes it's the creative, sometimes it's the photography. We outsource bits and pieces, but it's very, very specific. If you just say, here you go, here's the 10 grand, it didn't work for us. And once, so now I have a supplier for each one of those things that we don't do in-house, the balance of which we control in-house. I actually learned WooCommerce and WordPress, and it's not what I want to do, but I know that if there's a change that has to be made, I can do it in the amount of time that it would take me to call the marketing agency and fix the typo. So you got to figure out what the right balance is, but it's very expensive to go out.
Thank you. How much time and energy do you spend on SEO as opposed to other forms of marketing? Thank you.
I think that differs based on the market. We don't really do much. I mean, yeah, we'll kind of target some of the local searches and that type of thing, but I don't really spend that much effort on it. but almost all of our sales are here in Colorado Springs. Now that's changing. We just ventured into California, and my approach to that is completely different. So I guess it depends on where your majority of your revenue is coming from as well.
You know, when Google changed their algorithm and went away a little bit from the importance of keywords in SEO and SEM, that made the relevant content that much more important. I think they're doing a pretty good job right now looking at relevant content, and that's really where we put our emphasis. We're not really very focused on our keywords, on optimization, but we have a ton of content, and we rank high because we've got relevant content throughout, because we're talking about places to go, how to get there, tips and tools, and all related, and Google really loves that. So that's really been our competitive edge, even though we don't really focus on the SEO so much.
And sorry, to follow up, one of the things that I have struggled with when it comes to SEO, right, if you search for brewery and monument, we're number one, right, because we're the only brewery and monument, right? But one of the things we struggle with is I consider us part of the Colorado Springs metropolitan area, and if you search for brewery in Colorado Springs, we are nowhere on that list. So I don't know, it's probably something that I need to do a little differently, call Google and let them know we're in that area, but yeah, there's no magic bullet.
Yeah, I would tell you for us the biggest impact that we've had in. We did one SEO piece in there when we first got started. The thing that had the largest impact for us has been the number of Google reviews that we get. Every single time that somebody has a positive experience and they take 5 minutes out of their day to write something about us, that's what shoots us up the charts, and that's what gets individuals to come in. So every single time that happens, people come back in, and the first question I ask is, hey, how'd you hear about us? And it's like, you got really great Google reviews, so that's why we came here. That's been the biggest space of optimization that we can find. And I realize that we are small and we are not worldwide, like some of the other panelists up here, but that's something that I think is always going to be most important to us is an individual's experience, and are they willing to tell somebody else about it?
Clear your cache. Go incognito. Check all your stuff out. I mean, people search for fat bike 1 word versus 2 words. You've got to be in that top 5. And that's not cheap, and it's not easy, but constantly, oh, wait, that's good. Post something, do this. I mean, how is that going to affect my SEO ranking? I'm always thinking, what are the keywords? How do I compare against competition? Yeah, and, from a marketing firm perspective, if they're good, they're going to tell you about the algorithm changes and keep you posted. Oh, are you mobile friendly? Are you this, whatever. That's really, really important. Not that that's the only source for those details, but if you're on page 2 or 3, it's a tough place to be. So everybody's business is going to be different on how you get that raised, but try to get into that top 10 at minimum, top 5 if you can.
Other questions?
Thanks. I was wondering, could you all address how you develop some of your marketing intelligence versus what your competitors are doing?
I'll go because I'm the quickest and easiest in that scenario. We don't have competitors in this environment, so we're the only ones that's doing this exact same thing. And to the best of my knowledge, we're the only company that's doing this in the country. So versus what our competitors are doing is kind of a small space for us. The other competitors that we have are huge. I mean, if any of you caught the Best of the Springs, we weren't even nominated. That's how big they are. It's Joseph A. Banks. It's the Men's Warehouse, which is the exact same company. They're owned by the same company. It's the same organization. So for us we are not going to compete with those two organizations today, tomorrow, or next year. Like, it's just not the thing. But for us to be able to make sure that all of our nonprofit partners know about us, that our local community knows about us, that we can reach out in those spaces, that's the spots that we're doing. So we want to engage in things like this, where we get to have panel discussions and conversations, and where you can come engage with us right afterwards, and we can talk and we can figure out what works for you. That's the stuff that really does move for us a little bit more.
Yeah, one thing that's in the beer world is constantly growing. There's hundreds of breweries in Colorado alone. Bristol's been around for 24 years, and pretty much every word of copy has ever been written by Amanda. So it's been consistent for 24 years, the voice, the tone, and that's authentic to who we are. You know, you see breweries keep popping up, and we're the river brewery, or we're the ones that donate to this, and we're the ones that care about this. Being consistent over the years and not changing our tone and not changing who we are compared to our competitors has been very good for us.
I guess I would say for us, as far as our competitors, we don't spend a lot of time, we don't spend a lot of time looking at our other competitors, because we're, again, when I go back to the pie deal for us, our competitors are other things people want to do with their time. So we're trying to get in that space and helping to pull down barriers to make it easier for them to go fly fishing. The other thing I would say is focus on your differentiators. Yeah. If you know what makes you different, what makes you special, don't focus on, this is my personal opinion, is not to put so much focus on what somebody else is doing, but think about what you do really well and what you do that can set you apart, and focus on that. Put your energy there.
Yeah, you've heard the adage, don't only worry about things that you can control. I see, and I think Jason will probably agree, our biggest competitor is Anheuser-Busch, and I can't control anything that company does, and they're entering the craft space and trying to look just like craft players, and all you can do is just talk about what you're doing as a company. And yeah, I think you have to look at what your competitors are doing and see how you can differentiate yourself, but don't try to do unnatural things just because someone else is doing them.
Other questions?
Steve, you spoke about responding to negative comments out there. I just wanted to open it up to the panel. I know there's a lot of companies out there that are calling themselves brand ambassadors, and to help kind of hide those negative responses, just wanted to see if any of you have used those, or personally how you go about those negative responses that you're receiving.
Yeah, in terms of it was interesting. I was speaking to a hotel operator up in Crested Butte after the Fat Bike Worlds, and we were talking about this concept. He says, I respond to everyone. And he's really the guy that convinced me, because he had a guest bent over backwards. No matter what he did, the customer wasn't happy and wrote this awful review. And we all have those, right? No matter what you do, they're going to be upset. And so I started responding. So this was in January, really. This is when I started responding back and said, well, okay, here's Jeff Davis, I think was the guy's name. He called me a crook and whatever. And I looked in our records, and so my simple response was, we have never done business with this gentleman. I don't know what he's talking about. So if now you're the potential customer, you're going to look at that. It's the only 1-star review out of everything. It goes away versus, who is that crook, right? I don't know. This is where marketing, everybody's right, everybody's wrong. And I think you don't have to respond to everyone, but I think you can pick and choose and answer it very Never get into the emotional reaction. If you're responding emotionally, stop, give it another week or two, but come back and say, well, we tried our best. We pride ourselves in customer service, so on. Has to be professional, unemotional. Have somebody else in the staff who's way out of it respond if you can't, because it's easy to get sucked in.
Agreed. We also respond to all Google reviews, even if they're negative. And I think that gives you an opportunity, instead of letting somebody else control the conversation, you have an opportunity to share a little bit more, and who you are as a business comes through in that. And you're right, absolutely. If you're emotional about it, and you can't help it. I mean, nobody wants to hear criticism, right? So I agree. Step away. Have somebody else read it, just like an email that's emotional, right? Have somebody else read it before you push the send button. But it does give you an opportunity to share about maybe what really happened, or set straight some facts that really weren't factual. But if you leave it there, it's going to sound like fact. So I think that's always a great opportunity to have your voice heard.
Might be a question for Connor. If you guys are able to chime in, please do so. Do you provide a service that's monthly based, or do you pay monthly and everything? We are a small HR company, local and everything. One of the services we have is monthly based. However, we're having the trouble of getting people to initially try our service just for that first month alone. Unfortunately for you, you're able to drop yours into an email. So when you're talking face-to-face with those people, where you're not able to drop in your product into an email and show them firsthand, what exactly are you saying, or what's a good way to try to convince those small businesses to at least try 1 month of your product to see if it works for them?
That's a great question. To me, it always comes down to value. So it's just like you were saying, hey man, let people drink the beer and do it, try it. Like, if you believe that much in what you're doing, give it to somebody for a month, and if there's value there, ask them to pay for it. And so, we look at it and say, when we look at product, when we look at our service, it's like, how am I adding more and more value every day to our customers? Because they're going to go and tell that to all their friends, and the word of mouth, and just getting into your product and using it. It's the people we're worried about is the people that don't actually use our product and service. They may pay us for it, but they never use it, and those are the people we know aren't going to be there. And so if you add value and give that product away, like, that's how I would start. I would, when I started my business, it was like 2006. And there was no such thing as the iPhone. There was no video camera. So I went out and bought a video camera, taught myself how to do video editing, and I said, hey, you use this $20 a month product, and I will come out and shoot all the video myself and edit it so you can send it. And I got 7 customers. But that was what I did to do it, and basically I went out and I hand got the log files off the server for the actual tracking, and went and, like, Bronco Billy's Casino was one of my first customers, and I would literally drive to Cripple Creek and hand them a spreadsheet of the log files that I put down, and then I went into Photoshop and I made it look all nice, because we didn't even have the system that showed it. But, like, I believed in so much of the value of what we were actually delivering. I was like, I'm going to make this happen and just engage with that one person, because I will get the feedback to make my product and service better, and people actually using it. And then I got somebody to say, hey, will you be a reference for me, and tell them how sweet my product and service was? And then you work your ass off, basically. But everybody knows that in this room. You guys got anything to add to that?
No. Thank you.
Yep. Any more questions? We got time for one more.
Two things. I wanted to say thank you for your time and for sharing your personal business experiences. Where do I go to find a copy of this video to refer to later as I apply these techniques you shared with us today?
Huh.
Great question.
You go to the Small Business Development Center's website. Go to SBDC. I don't know. I'm making that up, by the way.
El Paso County is here videotaping for us today. Thank you, El Paso County. We'll actually have a video after the week is over, and we'll post it on the Small Business Week Facebook page. And we'll also have it on our YouTube channels. Nice. So you'll be able to get all the video footage from the week on those sites. Okay, well, with that, we are going to hand the mic over to Stacy Burns with the Better Business Bureau.
Can we get a round of applause for our panelists and for Connor, our moderator? You guys are awesome. Thank you. Oh, still here? Okay. Better? I can't be in front of the speaker?
There we go.
All right. I'll be over here if you need me. All right. So I have a couple other thank yous. We definitely want to thank the El Paso County PIO team. We have Blake, Joe, Nancy, and Christian that are with us this week, making sure you do have that content available. So thank you. I want to do a special thank you to James Africano and the warehouse. James, if you want to come on up here. But this is James and his wife Shondi's third year of hosting us here. And when you talk about a locally owned business, a family-run business, James is a fantastic example, and we really appreciate your partnership. So I'll let him talk to you a little bit about the warehouse.
Who ate Caesar salad today? Go to the doctor. No, I'm just kidding. The E. coli thing's over. I had to. I couldn't let it go. Thank you all for coming out and supporting Small Business Week. I hope that the rest of the festivities this week are good and that you enjoyed yourself here today. This topic today is really interesting. As a restaurant and a small restaurant, we have some really interesting feedback that comes back through, and dealing with, responding to, and all of that. That's where everybody looks for their information these days. So, you do have to respond, and you do have to be professional about it. Every now and again, being snarky back works too, though. I get some really, really good feedback from people who understand who we are sometimes through that. It may not make the person who left us a bad review happy, but it works sometimes, a little bit of emotion, but definitely try to keep it professional. These guys were awesome. I don't know everybody personally, but a couple of you. Thanks for coming. Absolutely. And enjoy the rest of your week. Thanks a bunch for coming out and supporting these guys and us.
And if you haven't seen their new upstairs space, that's great for kind of mid-sized parties. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It's just in warehouse style and supports artists and small groups that just need that size. 40 to 50 people? 40. Okay. All right. So in terms of our lineup for the rest of the week, tomorrow we've got Colorado Tops the Charts. What are you doing to keep up? That'll be at the Tim Gill Center. It'll be $10 to get in. That also gets you a continental breakfast. And we have people focusing on different things that Colorado has gotten feedback that we're doing really well. So we have an entrepreneur representative, we have a millennial representative, we have a commercial real estate representative, and then we also have our local workforce representative talking about how we build our pipeline to keep these jobs growing. On day 4, which is Wednesday, at Catalyst Campus, we'll be talking about emerging business trends. So we will have a lineup talking about cyber. We also have folks talking about worksite wellness and how to keep yourself balanced, especially if you're the person in charge. That's incredibly important, believe it or not. And then we're also talking about disruptive innovation. So make sure you join us that day. All the activities that day are free. So come on over. And then on day 5, Thursday, we actually have our Small Business Awards dinner. So that'll be at the Doubletree Hilton and starts at 5:30. And we'd love to have you join us. Tickets are still available online for you to register. Please do that so we know how many to plan for. And it'll be a really great night. We have some fantastic nominees. So I think that's it for us today. Thank you so much for coming out. Thanks one more time to Connor and our panel, and have a great week.